Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to Apollo Art Analysis. Today we're going to be looking at a piece by the artist Guillaume Boizanté. I believe that's how you pronounce it. He is a French artist working primarily within the digital rendering medium. So this piece is entitled Culte, Ancestral, and he has a lot of pieces also minted on the Ethereum blockchain if y'all want to go and support him a bit deeper. I'll put the link down below. So let's jump right into it. So in your initial introduction, you're met with this canvas that really reminds of kind of a molten visual energy. You see this, you don't see any direct hints of red, but you do see this very light orange and this kind of yellowish there. And those really do remind of fire, but we don't see any kind of original reds that you would think of. Maybe this is the closest we get to a red. A little bit of purple is here. This is the closest we get to a red, kind of a darker maroon around this area as well. But most of this here is this kind of molten fire-esque yellow orangish light. So those really invigorate and give a strong visual experience to all who stand before it. So yeah, just notice the color in this piece. It feels molten. It feels inflammatory. It feels like it's on fire, and it really reminds of molten metal. So that visual energy really, really excites whenever you first see this. It kind of gets your heart racing. And I think that's because of kind of the primal sense of not this blood red color, but the sense of fire. We know fire is a very primal and very archaic thing that we have always tried to master. It is very intriguing, it's also terrifying, and it really embodies the spirit of chaos. So that's really what it kind of introduces you to this piece, is this striking color palette of this yellow, intense yellow, and these kind of oranges to the reds in there as well. So whenever we take a look at this, we see this industrial aesthetic. And this industrial aesthetic is reinforced everywhere, from kind of these bolt facings to this steel rope and wiring. We see this everywhere, from kind of this metallic form of the infrastructure within the piece. Kind of these cog-like designs here in the silhouettes. We see it's very mechanical. And that mechanical really reinforces that sense of this industrial aesthetic right in front of us. So just a stunning sense of the industrial theme. And whenever we think of the industrial theme, we normally think of gray and gritty and kind of this grim aesthetic. But whenever I see this piece, I don't see gray. I don't see anything that's too grim. It is definitely a dark spatial composition and a very dark visual experience, but I don't see any type of gray, gritty, grim experience. I see this exciting invigoration, this kind of explosion type of effect there. So I think that's important to note. Instead of depicting the industrial aesthetic with this gray aesthetic, we see that he has decided to ignite it and to just flare it up and do this incredible amount of visual energy within the piece before us. So I think that's important to note. Really unique take on that industrial style and those industrial themes. So whenever we're taking a look at the greater landscape here, it feels like surreal fractal art in a way, but in that it feels like industrial surreal fractal art. So that's really interesting whenever I first saw this piece. We're going to take a look at some of his other pieces here in a second, but you'll see exactly what I mean. You can see kind of these forms and different variations of lighting in some of his other works. So he works with this kind of surrealist fractal industrial machinescape type of thing. So it's really interesting, and it's intrigued me quite a bit. I've been looking at a lot of his pieces lately, and this one just drew me in, mainly because of this unique take on the industrial theme, and then also this kind of machinescape, surreal fractalscape type of thing. So it feels like we're right in the midst of the action. We see there's kind of this blurred form here of what appears to be some type of rope. It's hard to say for sure. That's a horrible drawing. Ignore that. It feels like there's something right here. Then it feels like this extends out, kind of like a rope. Although it's hard to say for sure, right? And like I said, it feels like we're right in the midst of the action. We see these very moving, these curved lines all around us, which give a sense of motion, as if there's something going on right in front of us. Maybe these are machines that are moving and kind of outputting some type of material, some type of product. Perhaps they are taking molten metal and making them into these solid forms, wherever it's happening within the piece. So I think those are really important to note. It feels like we're right in the midst of the action, and there's just so much going around us. So another thing that I looked a lot deeper into this piece, and we see what appears to be a canine. And you'll see that here, kind of the form of the face, 2 ears, and it appears that he's looking that way. And we see kind of like the arms there, and then a tail. So whenever I first saw this, I was like, oh, that's a wolf or a dog or a canine of some sort. It's hard to say for sure. But if you look really deeply, it is some type of canine, whether it's a wolf, whether it's a dog, whether it's even something like a fox or something. It's hard to say for sure, and it's also hard to say for sure why this is in this work. It doesn't look like a real dog. It looks like some type of molten statue or some type of statue within the work. And you'll notice, if you take a step back and just look at the piece, the brightest part of the spatial composition accents and elevates and even frames the form of that dog. So that's really interesting. It's like it's trying to call our attention to notice the dog. It's hard to say for sure what the intention of Boizanté is, but we can say that this is the brightest part of the work, and that really acts as kind of like a stage to accent and emphasize the form of that canine there. So kind of a little Easter egg deep in the piece. I also was contemplating on the thought that this might be some type of guardian statue. So if we take a look at China, for example, if you've ever seen the what are they? Kind of like the stone dog lion statues, the Fu dogs. The Fu dogs were seen as guardians to ward off evil. So perhaps this is some type of take on a guardian dog or a guardian statue, although it's hard to say for sure. So I didn't follow that too closely in the description, but you'll see that it is just standing here and it almost feels like it's watching guard, but it's also in the midst of the action. Perhaps this is the object that all this molten metal is creating, and it's kind of rising out of the form, out of chaos into an ordered form. It's hard to say for sure, but I think that's important to note. There's something about this dog which really emphasizes, or the canine in general, so that really emphasizes its form and calls our attention towards it. So there's something important about that dog, although it's hard to say for sure. So what do you guys see when you view this piece? What do you think this dog is what are the implications of its form within the spatial composition? I'm really curious to see what you guys think on that, because it's hard for me to say for sure. But we're going to take a look at some of the artist's other pieces, and you'll see exactly what I mean by this kind of machinescape type of aesthetic, right? So let me find a good example of what I'm talking about. Yeah, something like this. So you'll see it's kind of like a large engine in a way. It's definitely machine-like, and that thing, it looks like it may be even moving, kind of like that Machine City movie. I forgot what it's called, but yeah, you see these massive machinescapes, almost like cyberpunk art in a way. Yeah, this one is entitled Maintenance Energy. I believe that's energy. I don't speak French. One day I will, I promise. So we see this little employee here just looking on this massive, multiple employees, another employee there, another employee there. They're all just looking onto this massive industrial vision. And here's the original piece we showcased, of course. So you'll see a lot of similarities in the form whenever you're looking at this piece and then compare it to that. You can see where those kind of outer body forms come from. And they really are these kind of surreal, abstract, kind of metallic machine type of bodies. It's really hard to say for sure exactly what those are, but just some incredible work coming from this artist. Kind of this infinite fractal scape type of feel here. Just absolutely incredible. And you'll see he's definitely mastered the medium that he works in. This is a really unique style that I've never seen before. So I think this is a really, really good artist that y'all should look out for. And if you see in the original description, I mentioned like a toyscape. And I see that because, something like this feels like it could be a toy, or something like this could be some type of play toy model for a kid. And that's not to say that it's amateur in any way. This is nothing close to amateur, but it's absolutely incredible. And I think that this could be kind of like a toyscape. So some incredible work coming from this artist. Definitely mixes a bit of that science fiction with a bit of fantasy, and then all mixes that with the fractal art in general. So just a stunning, stunning piece. These molten tones, this interesting canine. It's hard to say exactly sure what that is, but just some incredible work coming from this artist. So I hope you guys enjoyed this piece. Hope you guys learned a bit more. Go check out some of Boizanté's other work. So I'm going to link his info in the description below so y'all can reference that. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you all learned something. My name is Apollo. This was Apollo Art Analysis. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to support our work directly, please check out our Apollo community tokens. Apollo Art Exchange is an ecosystem of art appreciation which elevates artists each and every day. Thanks for listening.